Warning: Zara's takes may be too spicy for some. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I have thus far completed or DNF in the year of our Lord 2026. My Lord is Bob Mortimer. But yes, I have completed. Are you ready for it? It's a huge amount. 8 books. Woo! 8 books. Which is fine. I've still read. Any reading is good. I have some DNFs as well though. So I'm going to start with the DNFs and I'm going to go in order. So my first DNF of the year I'm going to talk about was Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. This is my first taste of him, and I did not care what was going on. It's about a young man, and I mean really his relationship with two women. One that he's known since being a teenager or a young child, and one that he's met at university. And there's discussions around like mental health and growing up. I don't know. I didn't really see the point of it. I just felt very about it. I had no feelings while I was reading it, other than So I got about 33%, and I decided not to bother reading anymore. And then I went on Wikipedia, looked at the ending, and I was quite pleased with not continuing it. I don't know if I'd read any. I might. I think I got one more on my Kindle to try. But I'm not in a rush. Not in a rush to read it. So yeah, that was a DNF. I'm doing better at DNFs. I'm quite good at like pausing books. I'm not very good at like actively going, you know what, you're out here. So yeah, and my second official DNF of the year so far is The Merits of Underwear, which is non-fiction history about underwear. And I DNF'd this because after a prologue and a chapter in, I couldn't stand the author anymore. The introduction I was enjoying, and then we got to chapter 1. And from a structural standpoint as well, the book is quite choppy. There's no sort of clear direction or narrative that she is going in. It's like this and this and this and this and, you know, itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. Like, there's lots of bits of it. Which was alright, but what bothered me, and in the end the reason why I DNF'd it, is that within one chapter there was 2 examples of body shaming that just felt really cruel. The first one is she paraphrased something like, it's almost like a sin for people with soft bottoms to wear thongs. And I thought, what do you mean it's a sin or crime? You know, like it's a fashion crime for a woman with large or soft bottom to wear a thong. Like, you're not going to see it. My bottom, if I want to wear a thong, I will wear a thong. And I thought, you're telling me about the history of non-fiction. I don't need to hear your preferences. I don't care what you wear on your nethers, on your nether fields. So you don't need to judge what the person with the soft bottom in front of you is going to do. And I was like, okay. But then the second instance, I almost wondered whether it was meant to be a joke, because it was just so unneeded and unnecessary when she described older bodies as withered. I was like, oh, right, okay, so if you got a soft withered body, I'm really sorry for your loss. So I DNF'd it after one chapter. So never mind, we learn. I would still like to learn about underwear. So for some strange reason, any of you have read a book about underwear from a historical standpoint, please let me know. Please let me know. Okay, so we're now going to a book I finished and I gave 2 stars to, and it was the first book of the year, so it did not feel like a great omen. And that was called The Last Death of the Year, by Sophie, which is her 5th Poirot book. And I do this every time. I go, Sarah, no, das ist nicht gut. Do not read them. And I do it every time. And this one was awful. Awful. In my opinion. In my opinion, her version of Poirot is rubbish. In the first book, The Monogram Murders, I think they were called, the amount of times that she said the little grey cells.
The little grey cells.
My little grey cells.
The little grey cells.
My little grey cells.
I actually lost some of my little grey cells reading it. I thought, well, okay, he's quite a bombastic, a particular character. I'll give you another go, and it got a bit better. And then they sort of flush it down. Yeah, that's how I feel. This one was set on New Year's Eve. I started on New Year's Eve, and I finished it a couple of days into New Year. And Poirot and the narrator of this series, which I think he's an Inspector Catchpole, he works for Scotland Yard, go to this island. I think it's Greece, could be wrong, doesn't matter. And this is sort of like a commune where people, they have a sort of sense you have to forgive everyone and everything that's ever happened to you, and it's a little bit hippie-like, and it's this sort of ragtag bunch of people, some of them who knew each other and some of them who have heard about this place and got there. And at the start of the book, Inspector Catchpole tells you that they all wrote a New Year's resolution anonymously, and they put it in a jar, and then they were read out. And he said that if you read this, there's a chance you can work out who the murderer is, because he's saying, on reflection, now I know what has happened, reading these resolutions, I can see clearly now the rain has gone. And so I okay, all right, I'm into that. Read it, had a guess, I was right. So it's nice to know that page 1 I knew who the murderer was. But there was some other stuff that I did not get, and the reason I did not get it is because it was batshit crazy and no one would have been able to have got it. They are convoluted. They just don't work. I just don't think they work. And for me, having a narrator who is an inspector for Scotland Yard does not work either, because he's almost as stupid as Hastings. I like Hastings. I know not everyone likes Hastings from the original series. I like him. He's a lovely bumbling little idiot. Catchpole should not be an idiot because he works for the police. And I do not understand the friendship as to why Poirot would want to spend so much time with him. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, Catchpole as a character is actually fine, but when you put him into context with Poirot, I mean, you had Inspector Japp in the original. And yeah, he's not as smart as Poirot, because no one is, that's the whole point. But he was still clever. I don't think Catchpole's clever. He's not as stupid as Hastings, but he should not be an inspector with the level of understanding and knowledge that he seems to have about crimes and people. So, yeah, that was a 2-star. So, will I continue the series? I'd like to say no. I'd like to say no. I just think, stop. Just stop it. Write your own books. But I know there's a Miss Marple one, I think, coming out soon. And I haven't even been able to finish that collection they put out of the different Marple stories by different authors. I read 3 or 4 and then I got really angry I haven't picked that up. And that was a while ago. I started reading that when I had my second child, who was 3.5, and I've had another child since. That's how long it's taken me to read that. I'd rather have another child than finish that book. But yes, so that was my first read of the year. I felt pretty crappy about it, I can't lie. But yeah, I'm really sorry if you like them. I am very sorry for poo-pooing all over it. But yes, everything else is like a 3-star and above. So the next book I'm going to mention, I read on my Kindle also. Animal, Vegetable, Criminal by Mary Roach. I think it's called Fuzz in America, which is also a really good name. And this is about when nature goes bad, you know. So we're looking at things like bears in different countries, what people are trying to do to keep people safe, discourage them from going in garbage and trash, the overpopulation of monkeys in places in India, and like the sort of efforts to try to sterilize them from stopping breeding so much. And then we look at trees that need to be felled, and they put bombs in trees, the ones sorry, got really excited then. So some trees, I don't know if this is like a worldwide thing, but whoever Mary Roach was talking about explodes part of trees, the dangerous bits, and they don't get rid of all the tree because the rest of the tree is useful just for wildlife, it said. But I just really need to watch a YouTube video of a tree exploding. And then also it looks at things like bird problems near like airplane fields, and the dangers that they could have on the airplanes when they're setting off, flying off. I've not been on a plane since 1993. So my skill of knowing the words for those is quite low. So as that sort of thing. I sort of lost momentum by the end of the book because we started getting to chapters about euthanizing animals, and I was less keen. I like animals. I just talk about mice and rats. I used to have pet rats. I love rats. I think they're lovely. Mice smell of wee, but they're still very cute. But rats are just adorable. All animals are adorable. But I just was less interested in hearing about how they're trying to kill them. I mean, humanely, the point is they're trying to find humane methods. But I sort of lost a bit of steam. And I liked it. I like Mary Roach. She's not one of my favourites, but I do find she's a sort of author when I want an easy non-fiction that I can sort of dip in and out of, because each chapter is a slightly different area of the topic. And I do like that she has this such vast array of books. I find them enjoyable. That was 3-ish. It was a fun time if you're into that sort of thing. Next up, I'm going to talk about 2 books that I read for Foodie Feb. One of the reasons I wore one of my favourite jumpers. It's tomatoes, mustard, it's lovely. Which Foodie Feb, which is hosted by Sophie and Ashley, and I will put their channels below. So it's a month dedicated to food writing, whether it's fiction or non-fiction. I stuck with non-fiction because that's what I was in the mood for. So the first one I mentioned is called Red Sauce, Brown Sauce, and I think the subtitle is an Odyssey. No, something about breakfast, and it's by, I think, Felicity Cloak. And so Felicity Cloak is a food writer, I think, for The Guardian, I want to say, but for one of those big newspapers in the UK. And she decided to go on a tour of the UK via her bicycle to try out all the different sort of regional breakfast items. So, going to Scotland and trying a smoky, and then you've got places where black pudding is made. She went to see the Baked Bean Museum, and each person she meets, she asks what sauce do they like on their breakfast, hence the name Red Sauce, Brown Sauce. I had a really fun time with this. It was just, it's so clear how much passion she has for food, how much she loves it, and also just seeing about different parts of the UK was just really nice, especially bits that I knew, bits that I didn't, I wanted to try. And there's recipes in there as well, and I just really had a good time, and I would like to read more by her. She's done one where she's also bicycled around France and also parts, I don't know how much of America, but her newest non-fiction is her going around America, and they're just very fun, easy reads, and they make you hungry. Like, I was just wanting to just eat all the different breakfast foods. For me, sauce-wise, it depends. Ketchup, if there's no beans or spaghetti hoops. If there is no, no sauce-based item on my fry-up, I'll have ketchup. And that's my 2 pence. And yeah. The next one I read for Foodie February was called, oh my gosh, Feeding Dictators by Witold Sablowski, who wrote one of my favourite books of last year, What's Cooking in the Kremlin. And this one is him talking to the chefs of several different dictators. So I think there's like Idi Amin, Hussein, Pol Pot. There's a couple more. Fidel Castro. There's a couple. I can't remember all of them because I didn't get my books ready. And yeah, and it's very interesting. Seeing how people talk about these men years later. There's definitely a couple of examples where he's spoken to these former chefs who still have this huge sense of like love for them because they were treated well. Um, a lot of them were like given like new cars each year. They were paid a lot of money. They were protected. They saw all the benefits of being in that controlled society. And there's definitely other chapters where you can see that they're trying to say like, okay, well, I know all these things were bad, but I didn't know they were happening. So I was just a chef. I have to do what I'm told. And of course you do as you're told. Or otherwise your family could be in danger. But yeah, it was very, very interesting. I didn't like it quite as much as What's Cooking in the Kremlin because there's like a sort of emotional factor in that for me in certain parts, talking about like Chernobyl and the Ukrainian famine. And this one was very sad. And there's one where he talks to 2 chefs, and one of them has now done really well for himself, and another one who really clearly needs to be in some kind of care facility because he still believes that the dictator is there and talks to them. Sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head which chapter that was. And he has nothing. And yeah, I just find it very interesting. I think Witold Zablowski is such a fantastic writer. Such an interesting way to look at history via food. And yeah, I always really enjoy them. And I hope he does some more soon because they are a great time. Yes, so those were my Foodie February reads. I was very pleased. I actually did more than one, or more than any actually. Like I say, I'm in a bit of a reading slump. I also read One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I probably butchered that because I have not got it in front of me. Can't remember the name of the translator again. I'm really sorry. I've wanted to read this for ages, and it's very short, and it is what it is. It says it is the day in the life of Ivan, who is a prisoner in a camp, and it starts from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep, and we see what life is like in one of these camps. He's a labourer within this. It talks about the food, the camaraderie, but also the sort of competition, the way guards treat them, censorship with the Soviet Union. Yeah, I really like reading books like this because a lot of the writers who wrote things like this experienced this, and they're writing from their own history, and the books have often been censored, and we've seen them years later. And yeah, it was very short and very impactful, as they all are, because anyone who's experienced life working in one of the Soviet Union gulags, yeah, amazing that they survived. This one was interesting because they spoke about the fact that they were allowed to criticise their leaders a bit more than in other camps, and I meant to look that up after why that was. I found that very interesting because in some other ones I've read, there's definitely like a fear of being very careful of what you say to anyone, whether obviously it's in letters or to someone you trust, certainly to to your superiors. Yeah, it was. a very interesting read, very short. I'd recommend it. And it's reminded me how much more I would like to read more Russian fiction and non-fiction. It's such an area that I have such a keen interest in, and I really need to get back to it. So this is a nice short way to step my foot into my toes, my whole foot. I put my whole foot into trying this book. Right, yes. And then next up, I read Persuasion by Jane Austen. I'm half hope and half agony. I mentioned in my previous video, which was a shelf readers bookshelf tour, that I was in a big Regency mood, and so I read Persuasion. I read it a long time ago, long time ago, so I didn't really remember much of it. And yeah, it's so romantic. All the people around Anne are terrible. He's rightly a bit miffed at her for rejecting him all those years ago. There's drama. There is the most romantic letter. And there's seaside walks. Terrible relatives. And Bath. Really, is there anything else you need in a book? I love Austen. I am always going to score her highly. Rate her highly. And yeah, lovely time. Don't have much to say about it. It's Persuasion. It's Jane Austen. She's well remembered for a reason, our Queen Jane. And then finally, I think, is a book that I rated 5 stars. Pew, 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 fireworks. Pew, woo! I only rated 5 books 5 stars last year. And I didn't get one for quite some time into the year, probably May. So we've beaten it. I think, did I finish this in February? Anyway, and it was The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow, which is, for me, not the book out of any of these that I would have thought I would have given a 5-star to, but it made me cry. So this is it's a love story. It's a love story between a female knight, and a scholar, and who are destined to fall in love and die over and over again until it's right, essentially. And the scholar is from like an alternate, what feels like, I would say Britain. It feels like almost like an alternate Britain, sort of early 20th century, I would say. Maybe like, they talk about cars, I think, so like maybe like the 30s or 40s. It feels like this sort of World War II, World War One-esque inspiration. And he is tasked with translating a text about this knight. And he ends up going into the story with the idea to make her complete the trials. But they fall in love, and things start over, and they meet again, and they meet under the yew tree, and they fall in love. And it felt very much in the tradition of like King Arthur and courtly love, and it was just so deeply romantic and so cleverly done, and it had such clear reverence for these old tales. It felt so much older than it was. I thought it was incredible, and it was the perfect length. It made me cry 3 times, and I just have been so desperate for a book to make me cry. I just wanted to cry, and it did it. And I had a lovely time. It's the first thing I've read by her. I will obviously now try other things by her, but I don't know if anything else could really make me feel the way that did. Because I like a story that's romantic, and I don't mean that in like a romance story. Emily Henry's, you get Ali Hazelwood, whatever. Those are romances. But this was a romance, like an epic love story for the ages. And that's what I mean when I said it sort of gives you those like King Arthur and all those knightly tales that were so popular during the Tudor period, of doing things for love and like love versus honor and what they should do for their king and queen, etc. And it was epic. It was epic, and I loved it. And yeah, I hope I've remembered everything. A lot of what I read was on my handy dandy Kindle. That is Death from Horrible History, Stupid Death, Freddie Mercury. Some stuff that's not really suitable for the internet. And Good Omens, which was written by Terry Pratchett, and Terry Pratchett alone. Yeah, next time, hopefully, I will remember my notes, because I wrote them down. Oh, I forgot one. I did forget one. Stupid Sarah. Okay. The book I forgot to mention was a romance. And it was called The Very Definition of Love by Sophie and Benoit, and it's kindly gifted to me via NetGalley. And I think the publisher was called Slowburn. If I'm wrong, I'll correct it. And this doesn't come out till June, I'm afraid. But this is a Regency romance, and it's about Harriet, who is caught in a... Well, I mean, nowadays it wouldn't be seen as an awkward position, but she's alone in a room with the Lord, and she thinks, right, I just get married. And he's like, no, it's fine. So she sort of kidnaps him. And she just, says, I think we should get married because otherwise I'm ruined. I'll leave you alone. We can do our own things. I've got my own thing. I'm interested in etymology. I'm actually helping to write a dictionary. Thank you very much. And they fall in love for realsies. And yes, it was very funny. It was very romantic, very silly. It made me laugh. It made me go, kick my toes. And it's sort of very much, if you like, Tessa Dare, Martha Waters, Virginia Heath, those sorts of Regency romance writers, where it's humorous and sexy. And yeah, I had a lovely time reading that. And that was a really perfect addition to my Regency obsession, which actually, if we're talking about current reads, what I'm currently attempting to read. When I say attempting, I've read 3 chapters, so who knows if I'll actually commit to this. But The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow, because I want to watch the adaptation, which comes out in about a week. It's big. It's a big boy. It's a big boy book. But can I do it? You will find out in a video coming soon. Yeah, you. Maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to film these when I can. I've been to a child's party today, and I ate lots of party food. And the parent cut slices of cake for the parents as well. Not just for the kids, the parents got to take cake home too. So for me, the best party ever. So anyway, have you read any of these? I hope you've had a good reading year so far, and I hope that I continue to read some bangers, and less rubbish books, less rubbish pants books about underwear. I only want good underwear books. And if you see me anywhere near a Sophie Hannah book, slap me. You have to find me first though. Anyway, I will talk to you again soon. Bye!